There exists among us a rare breed of souls who carry an invisible frequency that most will never understand. They are the 1% who developed something far beyond ordinary empathy, something that Carl Jung recognized as a profound spiritual inheritance. These are the souls who had to be strong alone, forged in the crucible of solitude until they emerged with abilities that seem almost otherworldly. You know them when you meet them. There's something in their presence that shifts the very air around you. They don't just feel what others feel. They perceive layers of reality that remain hidden to most human consciousness. This isn't about being sensitive or emotional. This is about carrying a vibrational blueprint that connects them directly to the archetypal realm Jung spent his life mapping. What we're exploring today goes beyond conventional understanding of empathy. We're talking about souls who function as living bridges between the visible and invisible worlds, who can read the energetic signatures of people, places, and situations with startling precision. They didn't choose this gift. It chose them through lifetimes of preparation that most souls aren't ready to endure. The first sign of this rare empathic ability reveals itself as an uncanny capacity to perceive what Jung called the function of intuition, the ability to grasp what has not yet emerged into conscious awareness. While others navigate by what they see and hear, these souls read vibrational frequencies like a native language. They sense the undercurrents of conversations before words are spoken, feel the emotional climate of rooms they've never entered, and often know things about people that those people don't yet know about themselves. This isn't the overwhelming emotional absorption that many empaths struggle with. This is precision sensing, like having internal radar that detects psychological weather patterns before they manifest. You've experienced this if you've ever walked into a space and immediately known something significant had happened there, or if you've looked at someone and seen not just their present state, but glimpses of their deeper story written in their energy field. These souls carry what Jung would recognize as a direct line to the archetypal realm, where all human stories originate. They feel the ancient patterns stirring beneath surface conversations, the mythic themes playing out in modern relationships. When they encounter someone caught in the grip of a mother complex, they don't just sense emotional difficulty, they perceive the entire archetypal constellation at work, the ways this person's psyche is being orchestrated by forces larger than their conscious mind. Their nervous system has been calibrated through years of subtle attunement to frequencies most people never notice. They register micro-expressions that last milliseconds, detect voice tones that carry emotional histories, sense the quality of silence that follows certain words. They've become living seismographs for the earthquake activity happening within human souls. These souls often describe feeling slightly ahead of time, as if they're always receiving previews of coming psychological attractions. They might sense someone's grief days before the person acknowledges it, or feel the energetic shift in relationships before the people involved recognize the change. It's not about being psychic in a mystical sense. It's about having developed an exquisite sensitivity to the subtle language of human consciousness. Jung understood that certain individuals serve as unconscious receptacles for collective psychological material. These rare empaths don't just pick up personal emotions, they tap into what he called the collective unconscious, sensing archetypal patterns playing out in the lives around them. They recognize when someone is living out the wounded child archetype, or when a relationship is caught in the classic dance of anima and animus projections. Even without formal psychological training, they see through personas to the authentic self struggling underneath. They feel when someone is avoiding their shadow, or when they're on the verge of a significant psychological breakthrough. This ability to read archetypal patterns gives them an almost prophetic quality. They often know how situations will unfold because they can see the deeper psychological dynamics at play. It's as if they carry an internal library of human patterns that allows them to recognize which archetypal story is being lived out in any given moment. They might meet someone and immediately sense the mother complex at work, or recognize when someone is being called to face their inner masculine or feminine energy. These perceptions arrive as felt knowledge rather than intellectual analysis. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of this rare empathic gift is how these souls learn to transmute what they receive, rather than simply absorb it. Early in their development, they often suffered from taking on too much energy from others, but maturity brings a different relationship to their sensitivity. They become alchemical vessels, transforming lower frequencies into higher ones through their presence alone. They've learned to metabolize emotional information the way healthy bodies process nutrients, extracting what's useful and releasing what doesn't serve. This internal alchemy happens below conscious awareness. Their psyche has developed sophisticated filtering mechanisms that protect them from energetic overwhelm while allowing them to remain exquisitely attuned to others. They carry emotional antidotes in their energetic pharmacy, natural remedies for the psychological toxins they encounter. They don't just feel your pain, they help metabolize it. Their nervous system has been refined through years of processing intense energetic information until it becomes capable of holding space for transformation without being overwhelmed. When you're near them, you might find yourself spontaneously releasing old emotions, gaining clarity about persistent problems, or feeling mysteriously lighter without understanding why. This transformative presence isn't something they consciously control. It's more like they've become tuning forks calibrated to frequencies of healing and wholeness. Their energy field naturally invites others into higher states of coherence. They've learned to maintain their center while serving as catalysts for other people's psychological integration. Jung spoke of the transcendent function as the bridge between conscious and unconscious content. These rare empaths embody this function, helping others access parts of themselves that have been split off or forgotten. They don't do this through advice or intervention. They do it through resonance, by holding a frequency that makes wholeness feel possible again. One of the most profound gifts these souls carry is their ability to read symbolic language embedded in everyday experiences. They notice when life is speaking through synchronicities, when dreams are offering guidance, when seemingly random events are actually meaningful patterns trying to emerge into consciousness. They serve as interpreters of the soul's symbolic communications. They possess what we might call archaeological intuition, the ability to excavate meaning from the layers of ordinary experience. A chance encounter on the street becomes a message about direction. A recurring number pattern reveals timing. A broken object points to something in their life that needs repair. They've learned to read the world as a living text, where every detail potentially carries significance. They might be the friend who helps you understand why you keep attracting certain types of relationships, or who points out the deeper meaning in your recurring dreams. They see how your outer circumstances reflect inner psychological material that's ready for integration. They recognize when you're receiving invitations from your unconscious to grow in specific directions. Their relationship with timing borders on mystical. They seem to know when to speak and when to remain silent, when to offer support, and when to allow someone to find their own way. This isn't calculated strategy but organic wisdom. Their empathic system naturally attunes to the rhythms of psychological readiness. They understand that premature insight can be as harmful as delayed recognition, that the soul has its own schedule for revelation. This symbolic literacy isn't learned from books. It emerges from years of paying attention to the meaningful coincidences and subtle patterns that weave through human experience. They've developed an eye for the ways consciousness communicates with itself through the seemingly mundane details of daily life. They help others recognize when they're receiving messages from their deeper wisdom. These souls often describe feeling like translators between different levels of reality. They help bridge the gap between the rational mind and the symbolic wisdom of the psyche. They can take someone's confusing emotional experience and help them see the larger pattern it's part of, the initiation it might represent, or the healing it's trying to facilitate. What makes this empathic ability so rare is that it requires a fundamental reorientation to sensitivity itself. Most people experience emotions as personal and immediate, but these souls have learned to experience them as information about larger patterns and deeper processes. They've developed what we might call meta-empathy, the ability to feel not just what someone is experiencing, but why they're experiencing it from a soul perspective. This shift typically happens after they've been through their own profound psychological death and rebirth experiences. They've faced their shadow material, integrated significant trauma, and emerged with a different relationship to suffering altogether. They no longer see pain as something to avoid, but as information about what wants to transform. Their empathy becomes surgical rather than sentimental. They can feel into someone's deepest wounds without being destabilized by the intensity. They've learned to hold space for the full spectrum of human experience, without trying to fix, change, or manage what they encounter. This creates a rare quality of presence that allows others to relax into their authentic experience. Over time, these empathic souls evolve from being emotional sponges into what we might call energetic compasses. Instead of absorbing everyone else's emotional states, they begin to reflect back a person's deepest truth, their unrealized potential, their next step toward wholeness. They become mirrors that show people not who they think they are, but who they're becoming. They've mastered the delicate art of energetic boundaries without walls. Unlike those who protect themselves through emotional distance or defensive strategies, these souls have learned to remain open while staying centered. They can dive deep into someone else's psychological ocean and surface with treasures of understanding, never losing track of their own shoreline. This is where their gift becomes truly transformative. They're not just sensing what is, they're perceiving what's trying to emerge. They feel the seed of possibility inside someone's current struggle. They sense the breakthrough that's gestating within the breakdown. They can hold the vision of someone's healing, even when that person has lost hope. In their presence, people often experience what Jung called enantiodromia, the spontaneous emergence of opposite energies. Someone consumed by anger might suddenly access their grief. Someone trapped in victim consciousness might discover their inner warrior. These souls serve as catalysts for psychological integration. Their energy field naturally invites wholeness to emerge from fragmentation. People often find themselves sharing things with these souls that they've never told anyone else. There's something in their presence that invites authenticity, that makes pretense feel unnecessary and exhausting. They create energetic permission for others to drop their masks and reveal their true selves without fear of judgment. Jung believed that certain individuals were called to carry the psychological evolution of the collective. These rare empaths seem to embody this calling. They're not just highly sensitive individuals. They're consciousness workers, souls who volunteered to help accelerate the healing and awakening process for others through their refined empathic abilities. Their empathic field operates like a sophisticated healing chamber, creating conditions where psychological material that's been locked away can safely surface. They don't force this process or even consciously direct it. Their presence simply makes it more likely for truth to emerge. People find themselves sharing secrets they've carried for decades, releasing emotions they didn't know they were holding, making connections they couldn't see before. They often report feeling like they're living slightly outside normal human experience, able to observe and participate simultaneously. This gives them a unique perspective on human behavior and motivation. They can see patterns that others miss, because they're both deeply engaged with life and somewhat detached from its drama. This detached engagement allows them to offer genuine compassion without getting lost in codependent dynamics. They care deeply about others' well-being while maintaining clear energetic boundaries. They've learned the difference between empathy and enmeshment, between being helpful and being enabling. Their presence alone often shifts group dynamics in positive directions. They have a way of bringing out the best in people without any apparent effort. Conversations deepen, conflicts resolve more easily, and people tend to show up more authentically when they're around. They serve as unconscious permission givers for others to access their higher potentials. What's fascinating about these souls is how they handle what Jung called the opposites within human nature. They can hold space for someone's light and shadow simultaneously without trying to eliminate either one. They understand that wholeness requires integration rather than perfection, that healing happens through acceptance rather than improvement. They've developed an internal compass that remains steady even in emotional storms. While others might be swept away by the intensity of difficult feelings, these souls maintain their center through practice and natural disposition. They can stand in the hurricane of someone's psychological crisis and offer the gift of unshakable presence, becoming a lighthouse that helps lost ships find their way to shore. This ability to embrace paradox makes them natural wisdom keepers. They can help others navigate the complexities of human existence without falling into black and white thinking. They understand that most psychological growth happens in the gray areas, in the spaces between certainty and confusion, where real transformation becomes possible. Perhaps most importantly, these rare empaths have learned to trust their inner knowing, even when it contradicts conventional wisdom or social expectations. They've developed what Jung called differentiation, the ability to distinguish between their authentic responses and conditioned reactions. This gives them an unusual capacity to offer genuine, rather than people-pleasing responses. They might be the ones who lovingly challenge you when everyone else is enabling your limitations. They might offer perspective that initially feels uncomfortable, but ultimately proves liberating. They've learned that true empathy sometimes requires saying things that others won't say, offering truth that others are afraid to share. Their sensitivity has been forged into wisdom through years of learning to trust their perceptions, even when others couldn't validate them. They've developed an unshakable faith in the subtle information they receive through their empathic channels. This makes them natural guides for others who are learning to trust their own intuitive capacities. These souls understand that their rare empathic ability isn't just for their own spiritual development. It's meant to serve the collective healing process. They're bridge builders, helping to weave back together the fabric of human connection that modern life has torn apart. They remind us that we're all more connected than we realize. They carry within their cellular memory the knowledge of what Jung called the participation mystique, the primordial state of consciousness where boundaries between self and other were fluid. While most people have forgotten this interconnectedness, these empathic souls never fully lost access to it. They feel the web of life pulsing through their awareness, understanding viscerally that individual healing contributes to collective wellness. They often describe feeling like they're living with one foot in this world and one foot in the realm of pure consciousness. This gives them access to information and perspectives that feel almost channeled. They might share insights that surprise even themselves, as if they're receiving transmissions from a deeper source of knowing. Jung spoke about the wounded healer archetype, and these empathic souls often embody this pattern perfectly. Their greatest gift emerged from their greatest challenges. The very sensitivity that once felt like a curse became the foundation for their unique ability to serve others healing and awakening. The loneliness they experienced while developing this gift prepared them to offer genuine companionship to others walking similar paths. They can meet people in their deepest isolation because they've learned to find wholeness within their own solitude. They offer presence that comes from having faced the void and discovered light within it. These souls represent the cutting edge of human consciousness development. They're early adapters of capacities that may eventually become more common as our species evolves. They're living examples of what becomes possible when sensitivity is refined into wisdom rather than being defended against or numbed. The world needs these rare empathic abilities now more than ever. As collective trauma rises to the surface for healing, we need souls who can hold space for the intensity without being overwhelmed. We need bridges between the old consciousness and the new, translators who can help others navigate the psychological territories that await exploration. If you recognize yourself in this description, know that your sensitivity isn't a burden to be managed, but a gift to be honored. Your ability to perceive the invisible dimensions of human experience makes you a valuable contributor to the collective healing process. The world is hungry for the kind of authentic presence and wisdom you naturally offer. Jung reminded us that the privilege of a lifetime is being who you are. For these rare empathic souls, being who they are means accepting their role as consciousness bridges, as wisdom keepers, as gentle guides for others who are ready to explore the deeper dimensions of human existence. Your presence matters more than you know. The frequencies you naturally emanate, the wisdom you quietly share, the space you hold for others' authentic expression. These gifts ripple out in ways you may never fully understand, but that contribute immeasurably to the healing our world desperately needs. If this resonates with your soul's journey, I invite you to subscribe to this channel where we continue exploring the deeper territories of consciousness and healing. Share in the comments below how you've experienced this rare empathic ability in your own life, and let's continue building a community where these profound gifts are recognized and honored. Your story matters, and it might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to feel less alone on their path.